This video is instructional tips on teaching the first few lessons of the trombone. The kids are going to come into class for their first lesson, and some of them are going to have rented instruments from the instrument shop, so you'll have the serial numbers already recorded for those, and you've checked them out and oiled them. You give those to the kids, and other kids are going to come in and they have an instrument of their own. Get those out, write down the serial number, check them out, and make sure the slide's working properly, that the water key is closing properly, and have some instruments on hand ready to loan out if you need to. The kids that bring instruments in, you're going to want to oil them. I wouldn't tell them what you're doing yet. Just go ahead and do it, because you're going to teach them later on in camp how to do that themselves. But the first thing is knowing which end of the instrument's up. Or the case, we've got our label here on top. There's no label on the back side. Some instruments don't have a label. They might have a tag from where you got it from, so it's right side up if you can actually read it, and the words are right side up. And if all else fails, the latches on the case always open upward, and the top side of the case is skinnier than the bottom side of the case. You're going to have the kids put this on the floor and make sure that they have it facing the right direction. I get the music stands completely out of the way for this because we're not going to need them. And we open them up, and we're going to talk about how to put it together. So, first thing we want to do is get out this piece. We'll show them how that there is a little piece of rubber on the bottom of this, and that is for putting it on the ground. And then we're going to get out this part of our trombone. Now, what we're going to do here is put the side that has that screw on the side with the ridges here. You'll notice if I put it on the other side, it doesn't do much. In fact, you can tell it's the taller side. Okay, and we're going to put that together, and we're going to make an L shape like that. And then we're going to tighten it up. We want to go around and look, because what some of the kids are going to do is they're going to put it together backwards like that, which is okay. They're going to figure that out when they go to put it over their left shoulder and they realize they can't. So that'll take them a little bit of time to memorize, but they'll get it pretty quickly. Alright, so we tighten it. And at this point, we're going to show them how to put their hands on it. So with the left hand, we're going to form a gun. So we've got these three fingers that are folded underneath, and I have them find this part of the trombone right here, and what they're going to do is take these fingers of their gun and wrap them through there. Then you take your first finger that's pointing, it's going to point down towards the empty hole here where the mouthpiece goes, and then finally your thumb is going to wrap over that. Now, for those of us that have taken the trombone methods class, that seems pretty simple. The kids are going to be confused by it, so it's going to take some time showing them how to do that. And you want to remember to watch constantly for the first couple of lessons and make sure that they're doing that. They will forget. They're going to try all kinds of weird things. So guide them through it. You may even need to take their hand and put it in the right spot for them. Some of them want to do this, or they don't put their thumb around it. So make sure they have that in the right spot. And I always describe this hand as being like a teacup. So you're going to hold it like this. You don't want to grab it with your whole hand. It doesn't work well. You can't get it out far enough. You can't get your vibrato. The kids don't know that. We know that. So just make sure that we're having them hold it like that. They're going to argue with you on that, but you have to enforce it. Teach the right way right from the beginning. Okay, once they've figured that out, we review buzzing. I've tested all of my kids ahead of time, and I've made sure that they're able to get a good clear buzz and that they have a good clear sound on the trombone, and also they're able to play a low B flat and a higher F. I never start a kid on a brass instrument who can't play both of those pitches because they struggle with it. And I actually had a trombone player in my first year teaching who could play the low B flat but could not play the F, and she went through the entire school year and she could not play that F. After that happened, I always make sure that they can play at least those two notes, and then they're able to start with the material for the first lesson, no problem. So I have them put their lips together like they're saying make sure that they're tight on the corners, and they're going to blow right out of the middle of their lips, and I tell them they're going to sound like an elephant. All my kids are able to do that because I pre-tested them. They're going to take this, they're going to put it right in the middle, do the same thing. Now most of the kids are going to have a set note pitch that they go to, and they're not going to be able to change it up, but I do show them that they can go. They're going to try that, and they're going to sound like this. But the point is they know about it, and they're going to keep trying it, and eventually they're going to get it. And you explain to them, if you tighten up and really grunt, then that will help that note to come out. And I say grunt, I know that's not exactly what you do once you've learned how to do it, but at first, right at first, they don't have any muscle right here. So they're going to have to physically try to do that to get the higher note to come out. Over time, over a couple of months, they're not going to have to do that anymore. But right at first, I have them do it. Eventually, it becomes real natural and relaxed. We put that in there, and then I show them. I show them where the slide lock is for one, so that whenever they do this, their slide's not going all over the place. I show them how that works, and so we lock it. Then all they have to do is just take their hand and go like that with it. Just, okay. Now you're going to see several people that play it like that. You're going to have people that try to play it like that. Be on the lookout for that. The problem here, well, there's several problems, but for one, the elbows up like that. They're going to have to bring their arm down closer to their body, but you want it to be like a V. That's a struggle for some of the smaller kids right at first, because they're going to have to get some strength right here, but make sure they're doing that from the beginning. And then we're going to play whatever note comes out naturally for them. Some of them are going to sound like this, which is the F, and some of them are going to sound like this, which is the B flat. We're going to take whichever note the majority of the kids are playing, and we're going to shoot for that one first. We're either going to tell them to tighten up and blow a little faster for the higher note, or we're going to tell them to loosen up, relax for our lower note. And once we're doing that well, I'm going to tell them as we're doing it, that's a high F and a low B flat. Now that F isn't really super high for us, but it is for them, so we call it the high F and the low B flat. And we tell them that the low B flat is the lowest note that they can play, because for them, that is the lowest note that they can play. For you professional trombone players out there, you can actually drop down an octave. The kids can't do that usually. So they are playing that low B flat, and then we're going to have them go back and forth between the two. It's a struggle for them right at first, but they'll catch on. You can give them the tip of whenever they play the lowest note, they're going to think toe. And when they think the highest note, they're going to think ta or ti even. If they're not getting it with ta, ti helps. To ta, to ta. They're not going to be fast at that at first, but you're going to ask them to try to do it at home and speed it up. The goal is... I'm sorry, I'm a saxophone player, so that's the best I can do. So you're gonna tell them to go home, and you're gonna tell them to practice at least 10 minutes every day during camp, just to keep their lips strong. And you're gonna explain to them that a brass player's lips need to have a lot of strength, and if you don't play, then it loses strength. And it's almost like going back to the very first day of band camp, if that's the case. So you want to keep those lips strong, even if that means you're just playing on the mouthpiece, maybe in the car or something, if they don't have a chance to get out the entire instrument. Make sure the parents know that as well. All right. We're going to talk about posture in this first lesson. We're going to talk about how it's like standing from the waist up. That our back's straight, our back's off the chair. We actually sit forward on our chair. And then we're going to unlock the slide finally. And we're going to talk about slide positions. And we're going to talk about how there's 7 of them. And as you go out, the number gets higher. You trombone players are probably cringing by the way that my slide sounds. So this is 1 all the way in. And then I skip 2 at first because the book's going to skip 2, and plus 3 is a little easier to find. I actually stick my fingers out like this right at first. I say whenever your fingers hit the bell, you're in 3rd position. And show them the bar hasn't gone past the bell, it's actually before the bell slightly. To do 4, you're going to show them that this top of the slide part is just a little bit past the bell. That's hard for them to see. Whenever they're looking here, they can't tell if it's on this side of the bell or on that side of the bell, so you're going to have to look for them. and physically go through and move it for them at first. And that's just a perspective thing. When you're looking this direction, you can't tell if it's past or in front. And eventually they'll just get the feeling of it. And then for most of my kids as 6th graders, 6 is as far as they can reach. So I'll just eyeball it for them and see if that's true for them with their arm length. And I'll tell them that 7 exists and it's a little farther out there. Most of them can't reach it. They'll try. And once we've done 1, 3, 4, and 6, then we'll get the in-between ones. So 2 is just there between 1 and 3, and you're going to see that this part of the slide is down a little bit, and you see some silver right there. We found where 4 was, and we found where 6 was. 5's in the middle. And again, 7's way out there farther than they can reach. So after that, we're going to drill the different slide positions. Okay, 1, and it's on 4. And some of them are going to get it, some of them aren't, and that's okay. They've got a lot of things they're trying to remember right now. It's day 1. They're trying to remember how to hold their lips. They're trying to remember how to hold their trombone. They're trying to remember these slide positions, how to play a high note, how to play a low note. This is a lot going on in their heads. So we're going to take it slow, and we're going to drill those slide positions. Once they've got the slide positions, the next thing I want to do in this first lesson is we're going to play the first 5 notes by rote. They've already got B flat and F. There's only 3 more to go. Low B flat, high F. Now you might want to start at the high F and work down, or you might want to start at the low B flat and work up. Depends on how your group is responding and what the natural tendency of their lips are. I'd go with the majority, or you might try it both ways. But say we start from the bottom. I'm going to tell them 6th position. Play it for them. They have to hear what it sounds like before they play it. They don't have it in their head yet. They will eventually, but for now you have to be that sound in their head. You have to play it for them. Then you're going to have them play it in 4th position for the next note. In 3rd, I can tell them they can do that if they want to. Back in 1st. So we play through each one of those notes. I tell them what the names of those notes are, and that's how they first originally learned them by rote. I'm going to show them flashcards. The trombone players have it kind of easy because all they have for a chart is just a slide position. So their flashcards are just 1, 6, 4, 3, 1. And then they're going to go home, they're going to practice going back and forth between the low note and the high note, and they're going to practice memorizing the slide positions for those first 5 notes. Which brings us to lesson 2. Lesson 2, they should come back and be able to go fairly easily. So now that they can do that, we're going to isolate those notes and we're going to learn how to tongue them. For a low brass instrument on the lowest note, the tonguing syllable is toe. Toe, 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 toe. That opens up the mouth wider. Kind of makes the mouth like a cave. Also, remember to keep the teeth apart when you do that. You might have somebody that sounds like this. They're too pinched. Everything's too closed. You want to keep everything wide open. All right. So we're tonguing the 4 of each note. We're going to review the notes we've already learned, tonguing them. For the higher note, the F, we're going to think more of a ta syllable. There it is. Again, I'm a saxophone player. And we're going to have them practice that. You can have them even think about feeling the tip of the tongue touching the roof of the mouth while they're doing that. Ta, 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 ta. Ask them if they can feel that whenever they do it. Have them do that out loud. Then we're going to show them the staff and where the notes are on the staff. And so now they're seeing what the notes that they already know how to play look like on paper. And we're going to start the Essential Elements book on the odd numbers, which is just the individual notes. And we're going to see what each one of those looks like. At that point, you're probably going to have a little extra time, so you can start at the beginning of the Essential Elements book and work your way up to about number 6-ish. And you'll notice that they are now learning how to play stuff that you've already taught them, because it's just repeated chord notes. They can already do that. And that makes what they're seeing easy, because they already know how to do it. All right, that gets us to lesson 3. And in lesson 3, we're going to show them the second set of flashcards, what they look like, and so they can start practicing recognizing the notes on the staff. I'm going to demonstrate to them the drill, with the competition drill, and we're again going to work our way through the Essential Elements book, starting at the beginning and just going as far as you can. I like to do oiling in the 4th lesson. That way you can watch them do it in the 5th lesson, make sure they're doing it right. And I've got my slide oil here. I always have extra slide oil for the kids who don't have any because they need it. If they don't have it, I just give it to them. And I buy all my stuff through Casio, Interstate Music, because it's really cheap. In fact, I'm able to sell these back to the kids at the cost that I get it for, which is about $1 or $1.25. Through them, the Rico reeds for the clarinets are $1.25, and they're $1.50 now, and the saxophone reeds, altos, are $2. That's fairly cheap, and I just sell them back. I round up to the nearest quarter, sell them back close to at price that I get them for. But you just show the kids that you hold this upside down like this, and I squeeze it on both sides of the slide. Make sure you don't spray it all over your pants, which is going to happen to them the first couple of times I try this. And I do it on both sides. You don't have to use a whole lot. You're going to do this to work it in. And then I tell the kids once they know how to do that, you need to do it at least twice a week. Or some kids do it every single lesson, which is fine. I don't know what your professional trombone players do, but I tell my kids at least twice a week. Eventually later on in the school year, they are going to have to clean those off because, especially if they're using grease or a cream, that stuff tends to get caked on there, and if you're not careful, it just turns crusty white. I like Super Slick. If you use the Super Slick, you have to make sure the kids have the little spray bottles so they can spray it down. That seems to work a lot better, but I always start all my kids off in the beginning with the slide oil, and then later on in the year I introduce them to some of the other stuff and see if they like it better. So I've taught oiling, and then for the rest of the camp what we're doing is just starting at the beginning of each lesson, and we're working as far as we can. You're probably going to get up to where you're doing half notes with the kids, and remind them over the summer they need to keep on playing as much as possible, at least every other day, at the least. And even if it's just the mouthpiece, that way when they get to school their lips are going to be nice and strong. Tell them that some kids are going to do that and they're going to be way far ahead. Some kids are not going to do that, and whenever they start, they're going to be starting pretty much from scratch again because their lips will be weak.